Discover the unexpected rise and fall of the 80s pop culture giants, whose stratospheric careers and private lives won millions of hearts and left a lasting impression on the era's cultural environment. Throughout the 1980s, pop culture icons like Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Prince captivated audiences all over the globe. The decade also saw the emergence of revolutionary fashion. With celebrity came a collapse, however, as controversy and the passing of time cast doubt on their enduring legacies. Background. The 1980s saw an increase in wealth inequality, and the emphasis on luxury was mirrored in the music during the time. It was a terrific decade in the 1980s. It was the last 10 years before the enormous technological boom the 90s would bring. We seemed to get along just well in a time before the internet and social media. These 80s idols continued to appear on our televisions, and we even spent time seeing some of these stars in movies. Hip-hop, new breed, and hair metal were among the several new genres that emerged and have all affected modern music. The launch of the cable network MTV was perhaps the most significant event that affected music in the 1980s, music television. With the launch of MTV on August 1, 1981, the first network to solely air music videos was established. The network's initial plan was to broadcast music videos around the clock every day. Madonna, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and Prince were a few of the newcomers who became celebrities. They achieved a degree of popularity and fortune unseen since the days of the Beatles and Elvis Presley. With their music videos, these celebrities affected fashion and provided viewers with an inside look at new trends. By ongoing innovation, they were able to traverse the pop culture landscape and maintain their relevance. Their songs established the benchmark for what ideal pop music should be. They continue to serve as the benchmark for evaluating current pop artists 30 years later. I believe that music nowadays lacks the impact and meanings that music had in the 1980s. They were recognizable noises and novel sounds that were not often combined, and now everything sounds the same. The genuine thing should simply come back in the songs, said student Katie Henry. These pop megastars rose to prominence for a variety of reasons, but their true artistic genius was one of the key ones. Additional factors include a rise in pop culture preoccupation, celebrity rumors, and fashion among the general population. Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you haven't seen any of 1980s Arnold's movies, you must have been living under a rock. He rose to fame throughout the 1970s. He immigrated to the United States from Austria, where he was born, where he went on to become possibly the best wrestler ever. He became an action movie star as a result of his renown. In that genre, only Sylvester Stallone could compete with him. In iconic films like Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, Commando, and Predator, he played the lead role. He played a robotic killer in The Terminator in 1984. With this movie, Schwarzenegger cemented his status as a top draw at the box office. Arnold later became governor of California, but it was his 1980s campaign that established him as a cultural hero. Eddie Murphy. The 1980s largest and most popular comedy actor was Eddie Murphy, period. At the box office, he competed with other celebrities like Arnold, Stallone, Tom Cruise, and Harrison Ford. He was the first comedic figure to become a rock star. Murphy first appeared on Saturday Night Live. Later, he would play the lead in Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America, 48 Hours, Trading Places, and 48. The film that transformed him from a budding star to a megastar was Beverly Hills Cop. Up to the 2003 release of The Matrix Reloaded, it held the record for the top R-rated movie. He even had a pop hit in the top 10 while riding the success wave. Murphy is a talented comedian and impressionist. His star power was evident, despite the vulgarity of his content. In ways that his mentor Richard Pryor was unable to, he was able to transition. Every aspiring black cartoonist after him was impacted by him. While Murphy had a few duds at that time, Golden Child anyone? He also provided many memorable chuckles. As a result, Murphy is a legend. Hulk Hogan. You did know who Hulk Hogan was, whether you liked professional wrestling, didn't like it, or didn't give a damn. Pro wrestling was a specialized and regionalized type of sports entertainment before his reign in the 1980s. He popularized it. The Hulkster was everywhere. Children began to see his persona as a hero. He gained a global draw by always wearing his distinctive red and yellow clothing. Due to Hogan's magnetic personality, his bouts often sold out stadiums and arenas. His bout against Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 established a record for an indoor athletic event. Almost 90,000 spectators saw it being performed in the Pontiac Silverdome in Detroit, Michigan. Hulk Hogan helped pro wrestling achieve its highest level of popularity in the 1980s. Madonna. The most well-known and significant female artist of the 1980s was Madonna. She would have been the most well-known artist if it weren't for Michael Jackson. Her music is a fantastic match for the time. It was vibrant, lively, and danceable. In the pop and R&B charts, she did well. In 1984, she issued her seminal album, Like a Virgin, which went on to sell more than 13 million copies worldwide. One of the best albums of the era, in my opinion. She consistently delivered hits because she had a fantastic pop sensibility for her audience. Michael Jackson. Without a doubt, Michael Jackson was the biggest star of the 1980s, regardless of the genre. With the 1982 publication of Thriller, the record with the highest sales of all time, he rose to global fame. More than 35 million copies of the CD would eventually be sold. Jackson transformed music videos. His 11-minute Thriller video was a short movie. Jackson's Bad follow-up album was released in 1987. 5 of the album's tracks peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Top 100 list. Around 20 million copies would be sold, making Jackson the best-selling artist of the decade. Michael Jackson ruled the 1980s in terms of general popularity. The resurgence of older performers who had previously had success as a trio or duet into their own solo careers was one trend in pop music throughout the decade. Diana Ross, Cher, Lionel Richie, Tina Turner, and Paul McCartney are a few examples. The 1960s and 1970s saw success for these musicians, and several of them even tried their hand at acting at that time. After adjusting to the new musical environment, they also developed successful solo careers. Cher, Tina Turner, and Diana Ross all adjusted their appearances to stay current with trends. Lionel Richie created iconic music videos and modified his soulful sound to fit the new pop music trend, while Paul McCartney teamed up with other well-known artists to stay contemporary. The 1980s were known as the decade of the one-hit wonder, when an artist would find enormous success with 1 or 2 very successful songs before seeming to vanish and never being able to repeat their success. Record labels could now generate a similar amount of revenue by producing a series of one-hit acts, without spending the time and resources necessary to turn an average musician into a more enduring celebrity. Pop culture trends. The quick adoption of cable television to the cultural apex of suburban malls was an example of how greater social, political, technical, and media movements were represented in American popular culture throughout the 1980s. Moreover, trends were shifting more rapidly, and many artists struggled to stay up and adjust. A's Take Has on Me, Soft Cell's Tainted Love, Tony Basil's Mickey, Nena's 99 Luftballons, and Dexy's Midnight Runners' Come On Eileen are a few of the decade's most iconic one-hit wonders. In the 1970s, African-American neighborhoods in New York City gave birth to hip-hop and rap music, which later gained popularity and a place in popular culture. Many conservative parents at the time disapproved of the genre that had been dubbed the new rock and roll, and as the genre gained popularity on MTV, it provided the white middle class a view into the inner-city lifestyle. Rapping lyrics, beatboxing, entertaining noises with a message, vintage record samples, and electronic sounds are among the genre's essential components. Hip-hop music was unlike anything in popular music that had come before, and the late 1980s were regarded as the golden era, when everything appeared new and fresh. Beginning in the 1970s, the new wave subgenre was significant until the middle of the 1980s. This music's emphasis was on aesthetic themes, and it included elements of punk rock, dance music, synthesizers, and other electronic instruments in its sound. As a result of MTV's aggressive promotion of new wave music videos, the genre ultimately became associated with pop music. The phrase new wave is intended to be all-inclusive and to include a wide range of very varied performers. Some musicians had a futuristic sound, but others were more punk rock influenced. With their distinctive attire and haircuts, new wave bands and performers had an influence on fashion, which the young culture would later imitate. This genre included a lot of the hits from previous decades. Duran Duran, Blondie, Billy Idol, The Talking Heads, and Culture Club were a few of the key new wave acts. In the end, I think this period signaled the demise of a musical dynasty. Everything that goes beyond this should and may be categorized as contemporary music, according to Henry. When we reflect on the 1980s, we perceive a period of significant change and innovation in the field of popular culture. A generation's mind was caught by a richness of talent in the 1980s. Yet when the decade drew to an end, many of these celebrities saw their notoriety and wealth disappear. The fact that they continue to have an impact on pop culture serves as a reminder of a period when the globe was full of optimism, inventiveness, and a willingness to take chances.